Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. It's about 6 weeks before the Century Ride, and my training plan calls today for a 53-mile ride at the pace that I want to do the Century at. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to aim for about 15 to 17 miles per hour, 53 miles, and we'll see how it goes. I've actually ridden this course before. It's a pretty good course, fairly rural. I hope you enjoy watching it. If you do enjoy my videos, especially this one, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride. Today's ride was pretty interesting. As I said in the intro, I have ridden this ride before. If you look in my previous videos, I have one titled 53-mile training ride with voiceover. That's actually the same route as this, with one major difference. It was much cooler that day, and I think that was part of the reason I was able to ride at a faster pace on that day than I did today. In terms of the weather, when I started out today's ride, it was 81 degrees Fahrenheit. By the time I got back, it was 92 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind at the start was out of the west-southwest at 7 miles per hour. And it built up to about 9 miles per hour, so not a lot of difference in wind between the beginning and the end of the ride. Of course, that means that I did have a headwind going out and a tailwind coming back. That's how I prefer to have it. The total length of today's ride was 53.11 miles, and I rode it with a total moving time of 3 hours, 21 minutes, 48 seconds. There was a total elevation gain on today's ride of 2,497 feet. And I still don't know how Garmin decides what a main climb is to list in the ride statistics, but they did list 4 main climbs. The first one was 0.67 miles in length with an average gradient of 5% and an elevation gain of 207 feet. The second one was 0.91 miles in length, a little bit longer. That was actually the longest of the 4, with an average gradient of 4% and an elevation gain also of 207 feet. The third one was 0.67 miles in length with an average gradient of 3% and an elevation gain of 128 feet. And the last main climb was going through the Watchung Reservation. That one was 0.73 miles in length with an average gradient of 5% and an elevation gain of 213 feet. My average speed for today's ride was 15.9 miles per hour with a maximum speed of 38.2 miles per hour. My average heart rate was 141 beats per minute with a maximum heart rate of 161 beats per minute. According to Strava, I burned approximately 1,508 calories and had an average power output of 120 watts. Today's ride was entirely in New Jersey. I started out in Garwood, New Jersey, and I rode through Westfield, Scotch Plains, Fanwood, Watchung, Springdale, Warren, Bridgewater, Martinsville, Liberty Corner, Pluckerman, Lamington, Bedminster, Far Hills, Bernards, Sterling, Long Hill, Gillette, Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and then a trip through the Watchung Reservation and over the hills into Westfield, and finally back to Garwood. Next week's ride should be an interesting one. I'll be going 59 miles, and I was just looking at next week's route a little while ago and saw a problem with the route that I had picked out. It was a route that I had not ridden before. I originally had a 59-mile route planned going north, and I thought that would be an interesting route. However, the route planner put me on a very tricky way of crossing Route 22, and so I scrapped that route and planned a 59-mile route going west. And that route has an interesting part where I actually ride on Route 22 for a little while, but I don't have to cross Route 22, or at least it doesn't look like I do. So I'm going to try that route next week. We'll see how it turns out. Just a few weeks left until the Century ride. The Century is coming up on September 17th. And it's going to be the Twin Lights ride. If any of you are planning on riding in the Twin Lights ride in the Century, feel free to come up to me and say hi. I always like meeting people. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about today's ride and next week's ride, at least this point, at this point. So I'm going to turn you over to the video. Enjoy the rest of the video. Well, that was a great ride. Yeah. A little hot out there today, but I managed and had a successful ride. Next week I'll be doing 59 miles, I believe it is. And so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, until next week, stay safe out there.